Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer. Now, you just wrapped up your capstone project, building that massive Fire Dancer validator architectural efficiency presentation. Man, try saying that 3 times fast, right? You absolutely crushed it. But today, we're shifting gears. We're moving away from the mindset of a node debugging engineer and stepping right into the highly suspicious, honestly kind of paranoid mindset of a security architect looking at a digital blueprint. We are diving headfirst into the foundations of smart contract security. Here is our blueprint for the day. First, mapping the attack surface. Second, the trade-offs of immutability versus upgradeability. Third, the dreaded reentrancy vault trap. Fourth, uninitialized exploits. And finally, wrapping up with some rock-solid secure design principles. Let's just jump right in. Section 1. Mapping your attack surface.
Think about it like this. If you were trying to secure a medieval fortress, you'd obviously need to know the location of literally every single door, window, and ventilation shaft, right? Well, in Web 3, this perimeter is what we call your attack surface. To put a strict definition on it, your attack surface is the set of externally influenceable inputs and observable states that can actually change your contract's behavior. Imagine the buttons and coin slots on a vending machine. It's every single vector where an attacker could inject some unexpected data, push buttons in the absolute wrong order, or alter the state to get a free candy bar. Except, in our world, that candy bar might be millions of dollars of stolen liquidity. Yikes.
We can actually categorize these risks pretty simply. You see those public and external functions? They inherently expand your risk zone, which can lead to nasty stuff like unexpected reentry. And external calls to untrusted contracts? Yeah, those can throw completely unexpected return values right back at you. Even public storage variables act as an attack surface because they can leak critical intel that an attacker might combine with other on-chain states to basically manipulate your entire contract. The practical mitigation for all of this? Relentless minimization. Seriously, be a digital hermit. Restrict visibility, minimize your public state, and apply strict guards everywhere. All right, moving to part 2. Immutability versus upgradeability. Every single Web3 architect hits this exact crossroads. Do you weld the building's doors shut forever, guaranteeing absolutely no one can ever mess with the lock? Or do you install a replaceable lock that lets you upgrade security down the line, but carries the massive risk that someone else might pick it? With immutability, your deployed bytecode is basically welded shut. You get fixed, reliable logic covered by a single, stable, long-term audit, which is beautiful. But if you make a mistake, it's permanent, no takebacks. Upgradeability, on the other hand, offers a lifeline with patchable logic, but that requires a proxy contract. And that proxy acts like installing a massive new set of windows and doors in your fortress, which, as we just learned, dramatically expands your attack surface. Which brings us to part 3, the notorious reentrancy vault trap. Let's visualize this with a little analogy. Imagine a ridiculously fast-talking bank robber who walks up to a teller and asks for a withdrawal. The teller hands over the cash, but before that teller actually has the chance to write down the transaction in the ledger, the robber asks for another withdrawal, and another, and another. Because the ledger technically still says the robber is rich, the confused teller just keeps handing over cash until the vault is completely empty. In a smart contract, this exact thing happens when an external call transfers control to a malicious recipient contract, which then loops back, or re-enters, the withdraw function before your contract has updated its internal accounting balances. It is a classic, devastating trap. So how do we fire that naive teller and fix the whole system? We rely on the absolute golden rule of smart contract architecture: checks, effects, interactions. Literally, say it with me in your head right now. Checks, effects, interactions. You check the preconditions, you apply the effects to your internal state, meaning, please update that ledger first, and only then do you interact with external entities. You absolutely must perform your internal state updates before you hand over control.
Okay, part 4. Uninitialized ownership exploits.
Now, this is a catastrophic vulnerability that happens before you even realize your contract is live. Imagine you build this magnificent, highly complex, upgradable proxy system, but you essentially forget to lock the front door during setup. Here is how this disaster unfolds. You deploy your proxy and your implementation contract, but in the chaotic rush of deployment, the initialization call is forgotten or maybe just misconfigured. So your implementation contract is just sitting out there on the blockchain with a wide-open public initialize function. An opportunistic attacker runs a scanner, spots it, and simply calls it. Boom. Just like a squatter claiming an empty mansion, the attacker claims ownership.
they immediately gain admin power in the implementation's context, and the entire proxy structure is completely compromised. Game over.
Look, it's a painful, super embarrassing mistake, but it is 100% preventable. Just as you're learning to build robust systems across your other courses here at Forge College, you have to secure proxies using strict operational protocols. First, preserve deterministic deployment. That means deploying in a highly predictable, repeatable way. Second, explicitly use single-use initializer guards so that function can literally never be called twice. Third, enforce multisig and time locks on any admin changes. And finally, crucially, audit the live implementation to double-check that no doors were left wide open. And finally, Part 5, Secure Design Principles. Moving from diagnosing these terrifying vulnerabilities to actually preventing them, that requires a massive mindset shift. We're talking mathematical rules here, not just aesthetic coding choices. Framing security through these core principles ensures your smart contract is built on verifiable properties. So we design for least privilege. Nobody gets admin rights unless it is absolutely necessary. We establish explicit invariants. These are ironclad rules about our contract state that mathematically never break. We use fail-safe defaults, meaning if something breaks, the system locks down safely. It doesn't just fail open. And we ruthlessly minimize privileged entry points. Look, every single admin function is a huge target, so get rid of them wherever you possibly can. All right, let's look at our key takeaways for today. 1. Map the attack surface before you do literally anything else. 2. Evaluate your upgrade trade-offs incredibly carefully. 3. Permanently tattoo checks effects interactions onto your brain. And 4. Secure those proxy initializations. Now, as we prep for our next lesson on secure development patterns, I've got some homework for you. I want you to take an old debugging contract from a previous module and fully annotate its attack surface. I'm talking marking every external call, every public variable, the whole shebang. I really want you to ponder that as you review your code this week. What hidden vulnerabilities are lurking in your own unmapped attack surface? Believe me, it is way better that you find them before someone else does. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Be sure to visit forge.college to continue your learning journey, explore more modules, and master the fundamentals of Web3 security. Keep building, keep securing, and I will catch you in the next one.